I'm Selena Patel from Strategies Group, and thank you all for taking time out of your day to join our webinar. We realize that these are really difficult times, and we see many companies struggling to figure out how to continue operations within a remote workforce. We want you to be successful no matter where your staff might be working, and that's why we've invited Patrick and Igor from Alltech to show you a brief demo of DocLink. A quick note before I turn the meeting over to them. Please use the Q&A button at the bottom for any questions that you might have, and we'll try to answer them throughout the presentation. That's all from me. Patrick, you can take it away.
Great. Thank you, Selena, and thank you folks for joining us this afternoon. And we're going to talk about going paperless now, right, and empowering all your departments to work remotely. I'm Patrick Wayne. I'm the sales director here at Alltech. Also with me is Igor Cross, who is one of our sales engineers. So quick, we want to start with a polling question and certainly enter it into the chat and Q&A area. Which letter fits best for you and why you're attending today's webinar? Are you looking to learn how DocLink can help you operate remotely, learn how to more about the benefits of document management, learn how DocLink can access, can be utilized across all your different departments? Certainly as the poll is up here, or is it all of the above? So certainly go ahead and select the best answer. And I'm going to go ahead and continue here with the rest of the presentation.
It's looking like a majority is picking B and D, Patrick, just so you know.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you, Selena.
Okay.
So going on, today's discussion, topics that we're going to cover today is why go paperless, what is DocLink, DocLink for AP, which a lot of our clients start there, and then how you can utilize DocLink and how it impacts other groups and departments in your organization, how you can utilize it across the board. We'll touch on some customer success stories as well. So currently, more than twice as many people today are working remote. And it's really important to understand that because, with the situation we're going through with COVID-19, organizations have gone to a remote workforce, so all their critical information and data and documents are a lot of times stored in filing cabinets, right, and on site. So how are you able to access your documents remotely and do your day-to-day job? Here's some examples of our existing customers that we've talked to that have been live on our system and what they've said, right, and how it's benefit them. An example, one of our customers, Live Oak Properties, they mentioned that having DocLink during this COVID crisis was a godsend. Their whole accounting department was able to work remotely from home without any setbacks. And now they're looking to expand DocLink into other areas of their business going forward and where they could benefit. Another one of our clients, and that client's in Florida, another one of our clients, Pinder's Custom Brokerage, they're one of our customers in the Bahamas. They mentioned DocLink has played a major role in helping us perform our major business functions during the start of the COVID-19 pandemic arriving to the Bahamas. So they had no setbacks, continued business functions as normal due to having DocLink in place, right? So here's another polling question that came out that we want to ask. What are your biggest challenges working remote? Is it accessing critical data and information? A. Is it B, manual and inefficient approval process? Is it C, accessing and collating backup documents for customer invoices and statements? Is it D, managing contract renewals? Is it E, processing invoices and expense report, or other areas, right? Certainly select the best answer for you for that. And moving on. Digital transformation is happening, and it's more important now than ever before due to the COVID-19 pandemic. So it's about, and digital transformation is more than just, getting everything electronic. It's about taking out the friction of the internal processes, resulting in streamlining traditional paper and data entry intensive processes and paving the way for companies to achieve their strategic initiatives. In a world of document management, we tend to think about the document that precedes the process. But at the end of the day, it's about connecting the paper with the people and the processes and the data from anywhere, not just in your office, right? What is DocLink? What can DocLink do? Well, DocLink has the ability to connect the right people at the right time with the right documents to effectively do their critical work from anywhere. It streamlines operations and gives back control of the document data and then of course, the transactions to you folks, right, remotely. It delivers documents outside the business to customers, to vendors, that allows those same people to access the system through like a web client is what we call. And these three modes, DocLink can handle all your documents through the life cycle and when the document is generated, from when it's generated to captured, and all the work that needs to be done with those documents, and of course, achieving the documents or accessing the documents for easy access and auditing purposes. So how does DocLink work? Let's touch on that real quick. Well, DocLink gives you the capability. The core of the system is the repository. We have two different editions of DocLink. We have a DocLink on-premise, where it's traditionally on-premise on your server. We also have a cloud version of DocLink that is stored in cloud, truly multi-tenant. So whether you're looking for an on-premise solution or a cloud solution, we have both. A lot of different ways you could bring in documents or content for that matter. We have our different capture methods to bring in documents or content. We could store, paper-based documents. We'll store them as TIFF or PDFs, but you could bring in documents that are already in electronic format as well. We could store a PDF, Word, Excel, image files, multimedia files, engineering drawings. We have clients that are engineering firms that store those. Pretty much any format. We really don't care what format it's in. We could store and manage those documents and content. Well, we have processes around them. You might have workflow for review and approval, and automation rules where we could route things around for folks to review and approve all electronically. We have a forms capability as well to manage different types of business forms that you have throughout your organization. A lot of different ways you could retrieve for these documents and content. So once they're stored in our system, whether it's right through our web browser, our smart client, or even mobile app that we have on Android and iOS compatible devices. And a lot of different ways that you could deliver documents out to your customers, to your vendors as well, out of the system automatically, where you can set up specific rules for that. And of course, our two-way integration with all the different ERPs we work with. Today, we're going to touch on our integration with Acumatica, but certainly we can integrate with any and many different ERP systems out there with our two-way integration. So going paperless, we're going to talk about all these different areas, but let's start with the number one focus with which we see probably close to 80% of the time. A lot of our customers come to us with an initial need to manage their AP process, and DocLink often starts there. And it's because of the paper intensive and the paper trails and all the different documents that go along with AP, whether it's the PO, the receipt of goods, and the AP invoice, and the payment, right? A lot of organizations are managing that all through paper today. And automating accounts payable gives you three major benefits in these areas. It gives you the ability to provide a self-service document access capability. We can manage timely approvals from anywhere, and of course, eliminate any data filing or eliminating the filing need and minimizing the tedious task of data entry of these payable transactions into the ERP, and ultimately streamlining and integrating with the ERP so we could feed the data into the ERP. Here's an example of all the different areas that a typical AP invoice goes through, right? The invoice, the opening of the mail, the PO, and all these different steps of a manual AP process. But in automating AP with DocLink, you can transition and eliminate 60% of the manual process and definitely improve efficiencies throughout your organization. And by utilizing DocLink to automate your AP invoice, we are eliminating many of the manual tasks, as you can see here as an example. We'll walk through an example here to get you an idea of what that looks like. An invoice to pay process with DocLink. You get the invoice, it comes into our system. We run it through a recognition process. It gets sent out for folks to review and approve. Once they approve it and code it, it automatically imports into the ERP. The payment is issued through the ERP system. In this case, we're going to talk about Acumatica. And then from there, the electronic payment is done, and we pick up the payment information and link all these documents together. Here's an example of an approval process you could do right from email. You can get managers or approvers get notified via email that they have something to review and approve. Directly from the email, they can look at, have the document attached there, take a look at, open up the invoice, take a look there, and hit approve and deny right from their email inbox. Never have to log into any system if they don't want to. They can approve directly from email. You can also do approvals right from our mobile app or your mobile email, or you can log into DocLink and look at all the documents you need to approve, click through them one by one. In this instance, I clicked on one invoice, take a look at it, I'm approving it directly from within DocLink as an example, if you want to log into the system to do approvals. So a lot of different ways you could do approval, directly from email, through our mobile app, and through DocLink itself, logging through the web browser. You could also set up workflow delegation. So let's say you're on leave or you're on vacation for some reason and you're somewhere where you can't access your workflow, or you don't have internet. And we hear that a lot, especially when folks are on cruises. Well, I want to delegate my authority approval to someone else while I'm on vacation, so you don't have to worry about it. Well, you can set that up, a date and time for it to start and a date and time for it to end in terms of delegating your workflow duties to someone else. So that's our accounts payable. Let's touch on other areas. Let's say an accounting manager. What is the benefit as it relates to an accounting manager? And the key thing is these three areas that a lot of accounting managers and controllers that we hear want: visibility to reporting, improve accuracy, and higher value add. Now let's touch on each of these a little bit more. Visibility, right? Visibility and reporting. Monitoring workflow statuses of documents and track pending documents stuck in a workflow becomes important, right? This helps you understand, things such as, are we missing out on early payment discounts? Or maybe we're getting charged late fees. So monitoring these workflow processes and statuses and being able to set up escalation procedures if you need to, this definitely helps improve your workflow and getting things approved. But we also manage audit trails. So any changes that is happening with the invoice, with the transaction, from viewing to approvals, we keep a full audit log of what happens to the document. And of course, financial reporting, being able to understand, what's past due, what's coming up due, running accrual reports so that you know what's out there that hasn't been approved, but is out there in terms of payment information that you need to understand. Or on the other side, the AR side of things. And of course, with our integration into Acumatica and other ERPs, we could streamline intercompany accounting as well. Whether you have an invoice tied to one of your companies that you have or multiple companies, we can manage it with our intercompany accounting capability. The cost of touching documents is unnecessary. And there's definitely a better use of your staff's time in managing, instead of managing paper-based documents. And this is some information from PricewaterhouseCoopers, what they've uncovered in talking with their clients and doing research, right? So the cost of filing a document, the cost of retrieving documents, or recreating, this is on average what they've seen in terms of the cost associated with that. Let's touch on the value of document management as it relates to the accounts receivable side of things, right? And where that brings value. And on the AR side of things, it's about quickly delivering documents to your customers, whether it is, an order confirmation, it could be AR statements with supporting invoices. to that and how you manage that today. We can automate that process. Definitely improve customer service across the board when you're able to get the documents and information, depending on your business. Some organizations want to be able to send out quotes with supporting documents, with images, things like that, which we've heard. So definitely improve what we're looking to improve is the sales order quote to cash process, right? And we can cover these and all the documents associated with the quote to cash process for your customers and managing those documents, that end-to-end life cycle from the quote to cash. And here's an example of that automation process where we could take, captured, quotes, order acknowledgements that come out of the system, let's say Acumatica or any other system, run it through an auto-generate sales orders in the system, sending it out, order acknowledgement, signed delivery tickets with the AR invoice or AR statements. Automating that process, setting up a time interval where we lump all the documents together and automatically email it out to whoever needs to receive it on your customer side. So automating that process, and we're seeing this quite a bit. We're packaging all these documents as it relates to the sales order side and the AR invoicing side to send to your customers, and that may be of value for your organization and what you folks are needing. Here's an example of one of our clients, Tyler Technologies. What was important for them was being able to, they started out with the AP side, and they realized that beyond AP, what other areas in our business was important. And an area that they could save additional money by just setting this up through DocLink was setting out the AR statements and supporting invoices to their clients. This in turn not only benefited them by you already using DocLink for AP, but they found additional savings and benefit by utilizing it on the AR side, setting out these invoices and statements to their customers in a tune of roughly $11,000 per year in postage alone. So that added value of utilizing DocLink gave them additional value and savings for their organization. Let's touch on HR. On the HR side, here's another customer example that a supermarket chain in Puerto Rico, one of my clients that I work with a lot, Econo Supermarket, they started with the AP invoice process. They have, with all the different supermarkets that they have, a lot of purchasing done, a lot of invoices were supplied from their vendors to them for what they've purchased. So the invoice process was really important for them. Managing that all electronically, having workflow, getting value of getting everything electronic, but they realized after 2 years, so they implemented DocLink for AP back in 2011, and then in 2013, 2 years later, they thought, you know what other areas can we use DocLink for? So they had found value in utilizing DocLink for their HR department, because as you can imagine, a supermarket chain, the hundreds and thousands of employees that they would have, new hires, employees that leave, and all the documentation that's needed. You think your own HR department and group, right? On average, most HR groups and departments in an organization store roughly 30 or more different documents and forms, as there may be, that is needed for each employee, whether it is, a personnel action notice form, or it could be a resume review form, which we've implemented for these folks. They have, annual review forms, things like that. So all the different forms and documents that they need, they were able to get that all electronically and manage all these different processes as it relates to these documents and form all electronically, so that employee onboarding became easier, as well as managing these documents and eliminating their filing cabinets on the HR side. Definitely you were able to find a lot of value, not only on the AP side, but also on the HR side and their continued use there. Great success story there. On the CFO side, what are CFOs looking for in a document management system like DocLink? The key thing is increasing productivity throughout not only the finance and accounting group, but then enterprise-wide, managing compliance and risks associated with that, and like I mentioned, enterprise-wide solutions. So As an example, audits become really big with CFOs. And the reason being is, you know, most organizations go through at least one audit a year through, you know, auditors. So imagine how you do it today. If you have it in paper, what do you have to do? You have to pull out all these documents, digging through banker boxes, filing cabinets, maybe offsite storage or your warehouse where you're storing your documents, and be able to get these and gather them for your auditors. You know, that can take days, sometimes weeks to get all this information. Imagine if you can do that with DocLink and do one in two ways. Either one, set up a user called auditors and give them access to DocLink as an auditor so that when you set up security, and we'll touch on security just in a little bit, but setting it up so that they can only access the documents you allow them to see and access. But then also, there's another way you could do it. You could actually search and retrieve for the documents they've asked for, export it out, put it onto a flash drive, and with that export, they get a light client of DocLink on that export, and they're able to view and search and retrieve and do their audits with what you've exported onto that flash drive. Super easy. All the audit history is there. They can review. And imagine you're able to do that and gather everything they need within minutes versus how you potentially do it today. Take days or if not weeks, and plenty of employee time just to do that gathering. And then at the end of the day, what do you have to do? Refile everything, which can take days again, right? A lot of time wasted there and effort with your audits by doing everything manual versus having everything electronically managed through DocLink. Here's an example of a customer, one of our customers called Aguro Companies. It's a publishing company. And one of their main reasons in non-implementing DocLink was because they went through a very painful audit. They were fined by their auditors, it was a tax audit, $100,000 because they could not come up with the proper backup documentation for the government. And it was a no-brainer for them. You know, they needed a document management system. They implemented DocLink, and since then, they've never had issues with their audits moving forward. So, huge benefit for this organization in implementing DocLink and eliminating the need, and also sped up their time, right? Sped up their time for internal resources to gather and pull these documents and put them back. Everything is electronic, made it super easy for their organization. Other areas that CFOs tend to find value is contract management. You know, the execution of these documents on these contracts, tracking the expirations and staying compliant. And we have a DocuSign integration as well. So, you know, certainly you can manage the contracts in our system, send it out through DocuSign, get it signed. It comes back in our system signed and stored, keeping that full audit log, knowing when contracts expire so that people get notified, you know, whether it's a contract between you and a customer, you and a vendor, whatever it may be, any type of contract that you need to manage can all be managed in our system electronically, checking the expiration date so that people get notified when things expire beforehand. And you can be proactive, right, in having contract templates as well. CIO, you know, what's important to a CIO, right, of an organization? Security, disaster recovery, and then, of course, industry standard, which we run on Microsoft technology. We run on SQL. Security, really detailed security with DocLink, and security can be set up in many different ways. Top level security, just like your system, right? If you folks have multiple companies, we can set up multiple companies inside DocLink. So at the top level of security, you as a user, which company can you access when you log in? We could tie users to companies. And then based on the department or group you belong to, what are the document types that you're allowed to see and access, right? So what I mean by a document type is, for instance, an AP invoice could be a document type. A contract could be a document type. A W-2 could be a document type, right? An AR invoice could be a document type. So you as a user, which company can you access? What document types are you able to access? And then we go beyond that. We go to the property values of each document type or the metadata value. of the document types, right? So for instance, maybe I'm an AP clerk and I only manage AP for company ABC. And from there, with company ABC, I'm able to access only vendors as it relates to, because I work with vendors that start with A through M, for instance, for company ABC. So that's all I would see in access. So we could limit it to that level. And we take it even one step further. Once you're able to access a document, what can you do with it? Can you only view it? Can you actually print it out? Can you email it? Can you download it? Can you make changes to the property values? What can you do with it once you're accessing the document? And we keep a full audit log on what happens to that document in our system. So there's no question on what happens, who did it, when, and where. Moving on, here's an example of one of our customers, a property management company.
Patrick, we lost your screen.
Oh, you did? Oh,
yes.
Sorry. That is weird. Let me see here. I'm not sure. Oh, okay. Sorry. Just want to make sure. Can you see it now? Can you see it now?
Yes, but not the presentation, just the desktop.
Oh. Let me stop sharing. Share screen. Okay, the desktop. And what about now?
Yes, now we see it.
Okay, Aspen. So sorry about that. Aspen Square. And then we'll jump into a demo. But Aspen Square is one of our longtime clients. They had implemented DocLink for their business on the AP side and automating the AP process. And they had gone through a tornado, a disaster back in 2011, an EF5 tornado. And it wiped out a lot of their part of their building, some of their other equipment and supplies. But having DocLink and their server untouched, they were able to restore everything and continue business as normal. So definitely think about where you are, right? Are you in an area where you have hurricanes, tornadoes, or floods potentially, or earthquakes, a natural disaster that can happen, right? Are you prepared for that? Right? So definitely, certainly DocLink can prepare you, and having everything electronically for these natural disasters, being able to access your documents and conduct business as usual, similar to the pandemic we're going through right now, certainly, right? All right, let's go ahead and I'm going to turn things over to Igor, and we're going to jump right into the demo. Igor?
Perfect, thank you, Patrick. So just before I quickly start, confirm that you can see my screen.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So let's, on our today's demonstration, we're going to look at kind of quick peek at how DocLink works and automate processes with use of different levels of technology, different levels of access. And we're going to focus right now specifically on accounts payable process. So the most popular and common method still to the day of registration and getting your invoices into the system would still remain registration via email, and if you're dealing with paper documents, registration from scan sources when you have carbon copies that your team members would need to scan into a specific folder from where we can pick it up. And this is what we're going to look at right now as a very first step. So on my right side right here, we have an invoice attached to an email, and it's sent to a designated email address. What this means is that when that email is sent to email address invoices@myaltech.com, our service on the background is going to take and register that attachment and bring it into the DocLink workflow. That's great, that's unattended by the user, and effectively anything that is sent to that email address will be automatically registered without user's intervention. On the other hand, if you are dealing with carbon copies with scanned documents, you would have a folder just like I have right here on the left, where you would scan everything, and we will also pick up files from there. So to simulate the process of scanning, I will grab these two invoices I have on the right-hand side, and I will place them on the folder just like that. So by doing that, I simulated a process of somebody taking these two invoices, put them in the hop of a scanner, and hit the scan button, right? So very simple process indeed with that regard. And these are the two main methods of document registration in the process when you are registering from a folder and registering from an email address. And it goes without saying that registration from an email address is way easier because users don't participate in it. It's just a service that runs in the background. But if you're still dealing with documents that need to be retrieved from paper, we can still accommodate that. And these two processes can completely coexist together. Now, when images and when your invoices are registered, we would like to also automate this even further and take it and apply optical character recognition to these documents to make sure that we extract the data from them and apply business rules to them. And of course, also making sure that if there are no business rule violations and everything has been extracted correctly, documents just flow to document management depository without user intervention for approval, review any additional steps required before they are being sent and exported to the ERP system. So let's quickly refresh what you can see on the screen right now. It's called DocAlpha Verification Station. And this is where users would address exception cases that maybe something was wrong with the document and they need to look at business rule violations. And on right here, we have on the very top the invoices that I just submitted into the queue. And to open that batch, I just need to click on that. So this interface is very intuitive and it gives users all the necessary tools to make corrections and go over the extracted data and make sure that everything is on its right place. So, and before we kind of go deeper into this, let me introduce you to the interface very quickly. As you probably guessed, on your right-hand side right here, we have the image, and images are fully digitized. This means that any value on that image is available for point and click. So if I move my pointer to, let's say, due date, we can see that I'm pointing to a value 5/21/20, and the same would occur if I point to any other value on the image. So as you can see right here, I'm pointing to, for example, vendor name right there. When the data is extracted, extracted fields are populated on the left-hand side, just right there. And as this is an example of a non-PO invoice extraction fields, are fairly simple. We just go after common header and footer fields, such as invoice number, invoice date, phone number, things like that. Some of you may ask if we need to include more fields, like you pointed just earlier to the due date. Maybe you would like to extract the due date and add it to the extraction schema. Is that possible? And the answer is absolutely yes. So that can be expanded, and you can add custom fields that would be configured in the workflow to include due dates, and maybe even custom fields in the footer. So as you can see, this is our invoice from the United States, and we have one line of taxes, one line of shipping, but maybe in common scenarios you would have miscellaneous charges, discounts, maybe state and federal taxes separated, or perhaps you work with Canada or Europe and you would need to have VAT, GST, HST included in the bottom. All of that is a possibility, and it can be done with ease during the configuration of the solution for your needs. If we look at the second document that we have in the queue, this is our PO invoice, and we, as you can see, expanded the capture fields. We included the table details, and our product is smart enough to parse and extract the line item details from aligned tables, as you can see on the screen right now, as well as very complex and even nested tables if required. So in this example, we have a business rule violation. On the bottom left right here, we can see that system alarms us about the business rule violation, and this is a three-way match rule violation. Behind its belt, DocAlpha has a multitude of tools that allows to conduct the business rule matching with ease. And very common business rules are, for example, duplicate detections, where an invoice number is checked against the database to determine if that invoice has been already received before, vendor identifications based on vendor name, vendor phone, maybe tax IDs, things like that. or again, if you're dealing with European customers potentially, let's say the GST numbers or VAT numbers, things like that. As well as with the three-way match rule, we are looking actively into the existing database of the purchase order as well as packing slips to determine if this item was ordered, if the quantities are correct, if the prices are correct, or if they are within the deviation that is allowed. And all of that is done immediately within the document set. So in our example, if you click on the information button right now, we can see that the system is unable to validate the purchase order number, and that indicates that both items that we have for this purchase order, they don't exist. We have two business rule violations. And if we have a quick peek at the PO number, we can see that the PO number is not correct and we need to change one of the characters in the PO number to validate the item. And if I hit enter, as you can see, the rule is immediately executed again and the error message disappears. But let's look at this from just one more second and pretend that our price is higher than the price that we had on the purchase order. So in the second item right now, I am changing the price to $118 versus $115, and let's see what's going to happen when this kind of change occurs and what kind of error the system is going to give to us. So system doesn't give us an error because the system, this is within the applied deviation, but let's give the larger deviation to the price, and now when it's out of the deviation and we click on the information, we can see that our allowed deviation is $5 and the maximum tolerable price for that product specifically is $120.98. So if you allow deviation, it can be in percentage or value, or if you would like to have a strict policy and have only the value allowed, so the one that exactly on the PO, you can prohibit deviation at all. Another point that if, let's say, we need to make corrective action, as our image is fully digitized, as I pointed before, I can simply point and click on the total price, the price in the table and populate it in the field without necessity to type. And the data of these images, as you've seen when the image just arrived, was extracted out of the box by the logic built into the system. So no need to create layouts for every single vendor that you have, no need to spend thousands of dollars of designing of that. System has the logic behind its belt out of the box. It includes also the learning on the go, as well as easy designer to stabilize any problematic vendors that are high volume. So now when we addressed business rule violations, we checked the three-way matching rules, and now our documents are ready to be exported. So to do that, I will simply click right there on the top of the screen. This is the export button right there. Or for those who prefer hotkeys, they can click Ctrl+E. Now the documents are ready and they are exported to DocLink. And in DocLink interface, we're going to have a look at how our system handles approval, review, retrieval, and other tasks associated with accounts payable process. So let's log in first. I'm going to log in as an admin, and we'll see how the workflow looks like and what kind of functionality is available for users out of the box at their fingertips. So first of all, it's a modular system and you have a variety of tools available for you, such as workflows, smart forms, as well as advanced searches to retrieve documents. And as Patrick pointed, DocLink is a true enterprise-wide document management system. If we look right here in the middle, we have a variety of document types available for us. And these are not the only ones that the system can use. You can expand this and include any other document type in the that you would like to store. It can be, as Patrick pointed, HR documents, contract, legal documentation, and all of that is governed by accessibility privileges that are assigned to users and their roles. Within the workflow, the same fairly vast capability repeats itself when we have, and if we have a look right here at the workflows, we have multitude of workflows set up right now. It's receiving, it's purchasing, it's accounts payable, approvers, things like that. So users and any workflow and any processes that requires to be automated, any document life cycles that perhaps today exist outside of the outside of the pre-configured and controlled and governed document management can be brought in and have full control and full visibility inside in the system. In some cases, users may say, oh, we technically don't have formal workflows, but you do. You do have the things, how they're supposed to run, how things supposed to be done. And if it exists only in the head of one person, as we were discussing during the section of the delegation of authority, when that person either goes on vacation or leaves the company, things are not getting done. And when there is a formalized workflow, you can delegate that authority and make sure that things are getting done regardless of when somebody is not available to perform that specific task. So the documents that we just processed through the OCR engine, they arrived in the accounts payable workflow, so I'll go and select AP, as unprocessed status. And statuses and workflows, they are, of course, same as the document types and properties, are configurable. And it can be tailored to the exact lifecycle steps that accounts payable, for example, undergoes in your company. So we have a couple of stages right here available for our cycle. They are very often specific to the ERP system. In our case, they are tailored to Acumatica, but as I mentioned, can be very specifically tailored to what you do and how you run things. For now, let's check unprocessed accounts payable invoices in the queue by hitting search. So what we have now, that's the common queue of documents that we currently have on the system. We have 11 pages of those. So what I would like to do is to sort them by document date and see the ones that we received. And we can clearly see the one that we have on the very bottom that we can look that we received and just processed a moment ago. From the screen, we can do a couple of very important and very cool things. First of all, if I select my bill and hit on the preview button, I can see the document that has been processed. So that's that. You can preview files and making sure because before you open that specific document that this is exactly what you would like. Another great feature is linking common documents together. So if I select my bill right there, you can see that right now on the very bottom, the system shows me that there are supporting documentation for that bill. I have a sales order and a purchase order associated with it. So in this example, we can see that DocLink immediately grabs documents together that are united by at least one common property. In our case, that's the purchase order number, right? And if we would have had multiple bills or additional documents related to the purchase order, guess what? All of them would have been available for us to review. And review in DocLink when you have supporting documentation is a breathe. So for example, this is our PO invoice. Let's open it by hitting open. And now, if necessary, we can review all the supporting documents side by side. So in this example, I have supporting documentation, and I would like to see them in, for example, vertical or horizontal tiles. So I can select that. And now you can see that the system automatically shows me my documents. They are positioned in one screen side by side as horizontal tiles, or we can say, okay, position them as vertical tiles as well. So this is a very robust system to make sure that all the data you need to make critical day-to-day decisions are at your fingertips. Now, let's have a look at the workflow from a perspective of processing document and searching through documents that require approval, that require GL code and things like that. So I will also again sort documents by date. We'll take the bill that we processed just a moment ago and open it. Now, this is a very common task where the user would need to look at the document and process it and apply GL accounts. So I'm going to create a smart form for it, and this is going to be a distribution stamp. As you can see, I'm pointing to it right now on the very top of the screen right there. I'm going to go ahead and select this file. And right now, what happens is that I need to start creation of my distribution stamp. So here, that process is also very simple. I'm going to hit create, and some of you may already guess that this screen completely mimics the screen in Acumatica when the GL coding is conducted. I'm going to select my branch of service where this GL is being populated. We have our date of the invoice. We will select our posting period associated with this transaction. So for example, this is going to be our, let's go page here. Oh, this is 2020. Now we're going to specify our terms of sale and of course specify taxation zones if there is any specifically. Now we're going to add the GL account. Some of the accounts are going to be automatically populated, depends on what you've selected, right? And another point down here is we can use templates. So for any recurring purchases, we can save this as a template so we can later reuse, because if that's this is something that you buy very often, you don't want to create this kind of if you don't want to create this item like every single time, it's very simple for you. You can create this GL account, you can save it, you can save the schema for that vendor, and it will be ready to be processed with the template very simply by saving it and then using the template instead of using the manual creation from scratch as I done today by hitting plus. So, and this is, as you can see, it's very, very simple process. When we are going to select the amounts, we are going to select the unit costs that we have, and the system is automatically balancing the items for us. So we here have the automatic balancing and the total amount. So let's say it's a tax exam, for example. So we have the distribution total right now is 0, and the system is ready to be stamped and sent for approval cycle. So this is what I'm going to do now. I'm going to hit stamp. System warns me that the document has been stamped with the smart form, and I'm burning the smart form, and now it's ready to be sent for review. Now we generated the second page. We're going to look at that in just a moment. So if I click the next page, now we have the actual stamp of the distribution embedded into the document itself. It's the second page to that specific invoice. And now if I look at the statuses, we can choose where to send the document. So approval in DocLink can be open, like as an ad hoc route that we have, and we have options to select, or it may be just a direct route when we send documents to be approved. Approval is conducted based on the rules that internally look what kind of approval routing is required. So I'm going to, in this case, select the approval by the CFO, but because this invoice is more than $10,000, and I'm going to hit send. So now let's take a step back and look how approval is going to look like. So for all documents that require approval, if we are working through DocLink command queue, people are going to, approvers are going to receive documents that require their review. And right here, as you can see, we've gotten an email where we have invoice attached to it, where we can review that. And we have very easy approval buttons available in the body of the email. So this is what users are going to receive to their desktop computers, for example, to their mobile phones if they don't use mobile app, to the application that they use on the phone. Let's say the Blue Mail or Google Mail, whatever mail they're using, where the corporate phone is connected. And from here, they can immediately approve. They can say, I approve it with a note, and put a note that, for example, this is supposed to be rushed and paid ASAP, and submit the note. So the informational notes that we submit, they go into the audit trail, and they will stay with the document forever. So that document is now in the approved status, and if later on we would like to go back and if, let's say, we go to our workflow and our accounts payable processing workflow, we'd like to look at the approved document. So this is where our queue resides right now, right? So now we can hit search and see approved documents, and of course we can see those who issued the approval, even going back to a long time ago. So for example, if we open and see the document, we can go ahead and see our approval notes if they are available for that specific document. And now that file is ready to be exported. So documents are typically batched together and exported as a group. And at the same time, if necessary, we can go back, let's say in Acumatica, when we're talking about any transactions, we can have a look and view documents that are available in the system. So let me quickly log in. And then And if you go back to bills and adjustments, so from here, when document is exported, let's also sort them by date just to see the latest one. What we have, let's have descendant list, one of the process today, and we can have a look and see documents that have been exported. And from here, as you can see, we transferred all the data to Acumatica seamlessly, and we also have view documents button that by clicking which we can go back to DocLink and see documents that have been associated with this bill. By default, this is just the invoice that has been exported, as well as all supporting documentation that's also is available for that bill that is united together by common properties. So thank you all for reviewing the demonstration with us. I will turn this over back to Patrick.
Great. Thank you, Igor. And if you could stop sharing, I will take control. Thank you.
Yes, please take control.
All right. Just wanted to confirm that you could see my screen again.
Yes,
yeah,
I
I can see it.
Perfect. So we just concluded the demo, give you folks a high-level overview on DocLink, a lot of it tied to the, excuse me, AP side of things. And certainly, you know, in terms of the demo environment that Igor showed, there's a lot of different areas and document types that you could set up and store and manage your enterprise-wide, right? So kind of continuing with our presentation, just wrapping up here, you know, how can different areas within your organization, right? How can DocLink impact everyone? And that's a lot of different areas, right? Areas that we've already talked about, but other areas, right? We have, think about accrual reports that you want to run and store and manage. Certification and compliance that you have, similar to contracts, but you might have certification requirements for your employees. And compliance documents that is needed for your business, depending on what type of business you're in. Operating procedures, things like that. If you're a field service organization, we have a lot of customers that are field service, so they utilize DocLink to be able to access documentation as it relates to when they're on site at a customer site. Different forms, different documents. Sometimes they utilize their mobile device to take pictures of an equipment that they're servicing, right? Something's broken at a customer site. They take a picture of the broken equipment before and after they've serviced it, and they store those images as part of the system and under their client. So when they actually bill the client, hey, here's a picture of, I'm going to send you this invoice, but here's a picture of the equipment that we serviced before because it was broken, and here's what it looks like after we fixed it. So good use case for field service organizations. But then other areas, expense report and different forms that you have throughout your organization that you want to store and manage through DocLink. We do requisitions, we have different accounting forms, new vendor setup, check requests, but then on the HR side, new employee onboarding process, resume review. If you're an engineering firm, we've built engineering forms such as engineering change request or anything as it relates to manufacturing. Maybe there's a work order form or whatever there may be, but certainly a lot of different use cases of DocLink enterprise-wide. So why DocLink and why Alltech, right? So DocLink has been around for over 20 years. A little bit of history of Alltech. Alltech has been in business now for 35 years. We are headquartered in Laguna Hills, California. We are a US-based company. We also have an office up in Tacoma, Washington. That's where our development and support is based out of. We have clients all over the world. Most of our clients are here in North America, over 3,300 clients worldwide. Like I mentioned, most of our clients are here in North America. We do provide support. What's nice is 24/7, 365 days a year. So whether it's nights or weekends, we do provide support. And there's always someone on call to support our clients should you need it, because we have clients all over the world. We have a very strong implementation team, 20-something implementation consultants, all Alltech employees. So we have the resources to get most of our clients up in a timely manner and effectively and efficiently. So certainly very strong organization, strong product. So last question I wanted to ask is, you know, why did you sign up for the webinar today? Is it something that you folks are looking to build knowledge on? Did your boss made you do it? And 10, is there an initiative in your organization, in your department, maybe enterprise-wide or different groups and departments in your organization? Or is it D, we could use this and you're ready to learn more, definitely contact you. So certainly as that poll is up, select the one that best suits you. And certainly I'm sure, Selena, there's some questions that came in and now is a good time to see what questions may be or may have come in that we can answer.
Okay, just as a reminder, you can put questions in the little Q&A function at the bottom of our screen. I do have one question in the queue already. It says, can DocLink integrate with any billing systems?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, there's a lot of things we've done with a lot of other billing systems. So certainly, depending on what you have, let's have further discussions and understanding which one that is, and see what we could do. We may have a direct integration, or we could utilize our web services and APIs and do some stuff that way as well.
Okay, I have another one. How extensive is the audit history?
As long as you want. I mean, it's full audit. So from the moment the document or content comes into the system to the end of life of that. So we keep a full audit log of everything that happens, all the way down to view. So if someone views the document, we keep an audit log of that. Okay, this person viewed it on this date and this time. This person made changes to the document. This person, whatever it may be. This person approved it this date and time. So we keep a full audit log through the whole life of that document in our system until you retire it, which is archive it out.
And lastly, unless anybody has any other questions, can DocLink be accessed remotely over the web or on a mobile device?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
So web, certainly through web, we support all the different web browsers, Internet Explorer, Chrome, Firefox, Edge. We even support Safari. So you have folks in your organization that are on Macs. We support Safari as well for web browser. And then mobile, we support iOS compatible devices, iPhones, iPads, and Android compatible devices, whether it's Android compatible phone or tablets. We have a mobile app for iOS and Android.
Cole asked, on the distribution stamp, is that the setup to read documents? Do you need to set that up for each individual vendor?
So the OCR side, no, you don't. I mean, there's base logic that understands the logic of and what to capture of invoices. The distribution stamp is the coding of invoices that are non-PO, right? That doesn't have to be set up for each and every vendor either. So we pull that data from the Acumatica system or your ERP system, whatever system you're on. We could pull that and leverage whatever's in your ERP system to do the coding side. In terms of the capture side, no, you don't have to set up a separate template for each and every vendor. There's base logic to it that does most of the capturing, if not all.
And that's all the open questions I have, unless anybody has any more.
Well, if there's definitely any other thoughts, feedbacks, or if you folks would like to understand more about DocLink, certainly reach out to John Pizzino here. That's his email address and contact information. Certainly reach out to John, and John can coordinate, and we can schedule individual calls, individual demos. Demos catered more towards what you're looking for and understanding what your folks' needs and requirements are, and we can tailor a demo specifically for you. Appreciate your folks' time this afternoon. There's no other questions. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, thanks everyone.